Can you hear me now?
Pull it up a little bit. I'm short and everything.
This one? Well, I don't know. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? I can hear myself. I can always hear myself. Well, here we are. Is that me? Yeah, I feel kind of robotic. If I freeze, I'll be fine. Well, here we are. It's September, and it's almost over. And this is a month when we look at affirmations. So I must admit that when I started down this journey, I was getting some competition. So maybe I'll just go back here. We'll try this. Don't pop, pop, pop. Anyway, so I'm looking at how can I approach this from a little different angle, because we've all heard a lot of the same stuff over and over again. So I thought to myself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the question, what? Why do we affirm? Why do we do that? The affirmation is just, it's a declaration saying that that this is so, and we declare that. And so the affirmation by itself is just kind of like a little fragment of what's really going to go on. And then I thought about, and I have to read this because this is really tricky. Can the way that we have been conditioned to believe about ourselves, our self-image, which is a topic for a whole other month, next month, play a major part in the success of our affirmations? Oh, that sounds kind of heavy. And will it lead to a positive outcome? We never know. So I started thinking about the ways that we affirm, and I came up with thought, naturally, and the spoken word. We think it, we say it. But then I thought about action, and that's something that maybe an angle we don't look at very often. So I thought I'm going to take the example of the house we just sold. Now, selling a house sometimes is a really easy thing to do, and sometimes selling a house is a really hard thing to do. And when you've been in a house for 15 or 16 years, you have an undaunting task in front of you because, well, I'm a collector. I wouldn't say I'm a hoarder, but I'm definitely a collector. So I have all this stuff collected. And so if we go back in time, 2 or 3 years ago, we started a process of moving out things that were really big, that we knew at some point in time would be a difficulty. We had a big entertainment center, and who needs that? So as we, I'll call it decluttering, because these were big, bulky things. As we decluttered, we decided that we were just going to donate all this stuff. So whether it was the Wild Wonderful Women at the time with their little thrift shop, or whether it was the Methodist, most recently the Methodist, but that we would put these things out for other people to, because the money they brought in, they did wonderful things with. The Methodist Church did their feeding program. Wild Wonderful Women did a lot of wonderful things in the neighborhood. So we didn't want to have a yard sale. We didn't want to profit by it, but we wanted to put it out there for other people. So it was the action, just the action, the initial action, the step of decluttering and moving things out. And so we felt pretty good about that. But when it came right down to putting that house on the market, the first thing we thought of was, yeah, we've been here 16 years. And we need, there's things that you just don't attend to all the time. There's things that need to be cleaned and things that need to be painted. So we put our efforts on the action part of getting this place ready to sell. So we worked and worked and worked, and we cleaned and we decluttered. But man, I tell you what, I'm a collector, and I got stuff that I just have a really hard time thinking about getting rid of. So we listened. So we listened to other people. And like somebody would come over and they go, you know, you got to get rid of this. You got to get this out of your house. You can't have this here. Because when people come in, they don't want to see this. And I'm thinking like, but I love that. That's like the coolest thing in the whole room. What do you mean I shouldn't have it in here? But whether or not I thought that was the right or wrong thing, that was like, I'm not going to do that. You know what? I listened and I did what people suggested. And so my favorite things, boom, out they went. Got rid of it. So it's really hard to let go. You know, I like that stuff. I don't want to put it in storage. I don't want to put it in the back. So, but that's what I did. And I'm glad I did that. So, through our actions, although I never said we are or I am going to sell this house or anything like that, it were our actions that moved us forward. Our actions were that we wanted to sell. Our action was we wanted to release this. And we put our house on the market on May 1st. And on June 3rd, we got an offer, and on July 10th, we were done. It was amazing. But it was the action. And along with those actions that we were affirming that we were letting go of things. We were making it as blank a canvas so somebody could walk in and go, oh, I could do this or I could do that with it. We were just letting go little by little. So, what seemed to be maybe a difficult thing, who would ever want to buy this? It all worked out. Perfect buyer came, perfect offer, everything happened just great. But the one thing that went along with that, and you say, well, how does that tag in with an affirmation, is we made it a preference, which really doesn't have much to do with an affirmation, because if you want to move forward and if you want to change something, then you're affirming it and saying it's so. But what if there's an earthquake? Things change. So if we also hold it as a preference, then the outcome, no matter which way it goes, is okay. Because we sell it or we keep it. So, enough of that. But while I was thinking about these steps, the thought, the spoken word, and the action, I thought, I need to find something else that puts a little different spin on this. So I went to my World Religion Encyclopedia, and I started looking through it. And I come across the Eightfold Path in Buddhism. And I thought, this is really quite something. Because if you're going to follow that, then it's like the Buddhist 8 commandments, So, so I looked at them and I thought, well, they had them in an order, and I went, well, this is okay, but I'm going to put them in my own order. So I reordered them, and I put them into the right viewpoint, the right intention, the right mindfulness. Now those first 3 I thought were kind of cerebral, and they're all up here in your head, your viewpoint and your intention that you come up with, and well, how you think about it. And then I moved it into the action part. The right action, the right speech, the right work, and the right effort. And those are all the physical things. Those are all the physical attributes of that. And then, of course, the 8th one is the right meditation. But I couldn't just leave it there. I had to take another step. So I went through and I started looking for quotes or things that I could tag on to that. So what I found to go at the right viewpoint was from Krishna, and it's from I hope I say it right, the Katha Upanishad. And he says, to attain the one, one's mind must be in harmony with itself. So we know if we're ever going to achieve anything, if we're ever going to affirm anything, that we need to really be in harmony with ourselves about that. We can't say we're going to do this if we're also doing that. It's just letting go. I had to let some of that stuff go, and I just had to be okay with that. That now it's gone on somewhere else, and somebody else is going to enjoy that. I needed to have my mind into, we're making this ready for somebody else to buy. So then I moved to the intention. And what I came up with there was my mother-in-law, Ruth Ross, passed away many years ago, but she wrote a book called Prospering Woman. And so with the advice of my wife, I was looking through the book, and she has a spot on affirmations, but there was a thing that caught in there, and it said, random acts of kindness. Now, the random acts of kindness don't really fit in with an affirmation, Jeff, so why are you putting that in there? Well, I'm going to come back to that, and we're going to touch on that. But I think it's important. And then there's mindfulness. And that's like, what are you thinking? What were you thinking? Or what weren't you thinking? And my biggest example to that is Frederick Bales. And for anybody who's not familiar with Frederick Bales, he was a New Thought, science of mind person many years ago, early 1900s. And he was diagnosed with diabetes. And at the time, they might as well just give you a death certificate and say, you're done, because they didn't have a cure for it. They didn't have any way to monitor it. And it was through spiritual mind treatment and thought and a lot of hard work that he overcame that disease. And his body started to make some insulin or some sugar, and he more or less healed himself. The doctors had no way to do that, but he did it through spiritual mind treatment and thinking. So, what are you thinking? A lot of things are possible. And then we come to action, and that's what are you doing? And so we always say your actions speak louder than your words. So what is it that you're moving toward? We may not be saying anything, but what are the actions? What good things, or what are we performing to move us forward? And then we come to speech. What are you saying? And I know that